trafficking is the forced intimidation or coercion of people into sex, labor, or service. So that's sort of their
like forced labor and like sex work is labor, cleaning, house cleaning is labor, right?
right.
So
Very similar to kind of what the Willows is, which is really kind of influenced by the Polaris Project, which is an excellent website if anybody out there is watching and you want to get a bunch of cool up-to-date information and statistics and really take a deep dive into trafficking. The Polaris Project is an excellent website. Human Trafficking Awareness Month is designed to sort of provide a level of awareness, and trafficking has very much been sort of on people's minds and in the news. You know, kind of most recently, there were a lot of conversations surrounding a campaign on the internet by QAnon talking about the trafficking of children, and a pretty shocking campaign that seemed to imply that much of what happened with trafficking was the trafficking of children, which, as we all know, is an aspect of it, but certainly not the whole picture of trafficking and what goes on. So, you know, people do have a lot of ideas about what constitutes trafficking. And can you kind of talk us through what you think maybe some of the myths that you most often encounter when you're talking to folks about it?
yeah, definitely. So for some misconceptions, I think a really big one is who is doing the trafficking. I think a lot of times we imagine this stranger in the bushes, someone who's, kidnaps people and takes them to foreign countries, and they're like large operations. But what I tend to see and what is most common is interpersonal relationships that become trafficking kind of situations. That can be, a family member, a loved one, someone who you're in a relationship with. And so oftentimes it's difficult for survivors themselves to even realize that they're being trafficked, because they are thinking that it's something a bit different than what it really is. And so I think that's a pretty big misconception. And I think another reason for people to realize that, trafficking doesn't happen somewhere else, it happens here. And you may know someone who's being trafficked. They work with you, they go to the same grocery store as you, and it looks a lot different than I think how like movies portray them, for sure.
Had in last year, the human trafficking survivor Rebecca Bender. She came in and gave a presentation, and one of the quotes from her, she didn't necessarily give it in this particular speech, but that I've heard her say before, is that trafficking kind of happens anywhere that there is people, that it's not confined to one particular geographic location. And yeah, that example of the person kidnapping somebody, or the other one that I'll often use in presentations is the sort of taken Liam Neeson idea that it happens only in foreign countries, and with kind of foreign nationals stealing citizens and moving them around the world. It's really much more localized than that. There are often times where a trafficker will establish a relationship with the person, will be a grooming relationship, or a groomed relationship. And then all of a sudden that person is moved to a different place that they have no support network, and told, now I need you to sleep with my friends, or now I need you to sleep with these people, because otherwise I'm going to kick you out and you have no place to go. And that is something that we often think about trafficking as being an international phenomenon. How do you see it more at a local level? And I will say that that's kind of how the Willow, that's what we most often see at the local level, kind of on our end, because we deal with primarily with intimate partner relationships and intimate partner violence. Does it look any different from the care center's end in terms of what you're seeing?
I would say that it's fairly similar in my short experience, but from I asked my coworkers about this ahead of time just to make sure that I was getting all the perspective. But yeah, it looks like interpersonal relationships. It looks like a supposed partnership, like relationship wise, or family members. There's also I mentioned labor work, because I have seen like labor trafficking in the home, of forced labor of cleaning and doing housely duties. because someone has nowhere else to stay. And so there's definitely that. But yeah, no, and I think that just like it's important for people to realize that like these people walk among us, and the traffickers and people who are being trafficked, and it's important to realize that like things that may look like warning signs for a toxic relationship or or even an abusive relationship, there might also be a component of sex trafficking as well in that, or labor trafficking, just trafficking in general.
If anyone is in need of access to services from the care center or from the Willow, you can always get more information on all of our services. For the Willow, our website is willowdvcenter.org, and our 24-hour hotline is 785-843-3333. And I know it's starcarecenter.org, but I don't know your hotline phone number offhand.
Our hotline number is 785-843-8985.
And both of those are 24 hours, and they're available to answer your calls and answer any questions about any of this. AJ, is it okay if people email you if they have any questions on what they've seen today, or where should they email?
I think they should probably contact support at stacarecenter.org. That's our general one. And then from there, if it's something pertaining to my work or someone else's work, then it'll be split up from that.
Okay, great.